Let us explore how to meditate despite the limitations of arthritis. This morning's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. A question that begins quite simply, posture when in pain, and then continues. Oh boy. Okay, thank you for your patience. So, do you have pain while meditating? I've got some mobility function issues. My days of sitting cross-legged are far behind me. Can't help myself. Hope your legs are far behind you. That would be painful. Arthritis causes my spine to hurt, which makes sitting upright uncomfortable too. So I'm going to interrupt the flow of this intermittently to interject. Don't worry, they got medications for that. So, sitting cross-legged is not a mandatory prerequisite of enlightenment. Despite the ravings of the dim-witted and elitist, the Buddha was not, what's it called? Ableist. I'm disabled. There are many things I cannot do. I assure you, you can practice the path, you can master the path in a imperfect body. I guarantee it. So sitting upright is comfortable. I'm thinking this is written by a woman because men will just say, it hurts and I want to die. Women are so much braver than men. When interviewed, people transitioning to from female to male, all report the same thing, that their pain threshold plummets. So there is a difference between the genders when it comes to pain. But having said that, let's get back to the main important thing. Many centuries ago, it is said that Jesus taught man, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Similarly, meditation was made for humans, not humans for meditation. If a classic strategy won't work for you, if sitting with cross-legged in a perfect posture isn't doable for you, that doesn't mean you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Despite the ravings of the weak-minded, you don't have to do that. In whatever posture you find yourself where it is best for you to manage your pain, in that posture you can practice. Pay no attention to the fiends who will say there's only one posture to practice, and if you can't assume that posture, it is because of karmic retribution. Those people clearly have rocks for brains. Let's continue. Because of this, sitting still is difficult. I'd love to do a 30-minute sit, but that feels unattainable. And so there is no magic number. Yes, it can't be. If you wish to master meditation and make a career of teaching meditation, it can be very nice to master the posture and the duration. That's splendid and lovely and useful, but not mandatory. I take great heart in the Geleg Lama Gyalwe Wansapa, who was disabled. And not only did he receive teachings and master the teachings, but he basically saved the entire Geleg order because of that, or at least that's what he claimed. So if a great lineage teacher of a rather uptight order was full-on disabled, then there is a way for us differently abled folk not only to practice the path, but to master it. There's a cliche, so please bear with me. Cliche warning, cliche warning. Here comes an incoming cliche. It's not years in your life, but life in your years. In our country, we've learned how to prolong life, but we've not learned how to prolong health. And so basically all we've done is learn how to prolong agony. And then there are some religious fundamentalists who say God wants you to suffer, don't practice euthanasia. Gee, how loving. So, but let's get back to the cliche. Sometimes it's not a question of years in your life, but life in years. Similarly, it's not a question of how many minutes you spend sitting in perfect meditation posture, but how much meditation you cram into each minute. How efficient your meditation is. And we will get into that this morning in this lesson. So do bear with me. Stay tuned, if you will. I do a moving Qigong meditation in the morning and a longer sit later. 20 minutes seems to be the limit. So let's explore this. I love the idea that motion is lotion, although it sounds delightfully salacious. If you are capable of walking meditation, that can actually increase the efficiency of meditation. And basically, the asymmetric movements of walking, the very fact that while your left leg advances, your right arm swings back, the very fact that while your left arm advances, your right leg is back, that is a study in asymmetry, which seems to have a massage-like effect on our hippocampus, which helps us deal with traumatizing emotions and traumatizing events. So there's a strong neuroscience behind the idea of walking meditation, brisk walking meditation, or perhaps I should say as brisk as your body will allow. Now, I once had a roommate with rheumatic, is that how you said? Rheumatic arthritis. And after an exertion, it would undermine his arthritis. So you don't want to push yourself here. You want to cooperate with your limitations, not worsen them. So if you can sit for 20 minutes, that's great. And if limit means that you're sweating blood, then knock that down to 15 or 10 or even 5. Better to practice 5 minutes several times a day pleasurably than one time agonizingly. Honestly. When we get to the neuroscience, and in just a few minutes, you'll see that pain is not your friend. Or to a local yoga teacher used to say, you do not get extra points for pain. And Dolly Parton once said in a movie, get off the cross, someone needs the wood. Let's continue. I do meditation lying down, but it can be hard not to drift off. Hence the power of very, very concise meditations. Short but powerful. That's going to be your motto. The short kings of meditation. Do you have any tips to make my meditation sessions more comfortable? Or at least doesn't make things worse? Yes. So, I'm disabled. My partner has physical challenges as well. And she is the queen of props. She's always using little cushions here and there to manage her body. She has a fascia disorder and she survived a 3-car pileup. So this is not being a prima donna. These are real limitations. Doctors, medical workers, and the whole shebang. So she's luckily very, very intelligent and very, very methodical. And this is where being methodical really comes in, because you can notice patterns. Because pain is a complex thing and it's seldom the same pain all the time. There's so many variables. And so don't be afraid to use props. Ignore what the fools tell you, what the elitists tell you, what the people who are slaves, petty one-upsmen tell you. Do what works best for your body in the moment. Because we have so many variables assailing us, circumstantial variables, physical variables, interpersonal variables, mental variables. All these things are going down. And yes, mental variables are a thing. Thoughts are things. They affect our endocrines. They affect our nervous system. They affect the soft tissues and the hard tissues of our body. So I'm not saying things are psychosomatic. I'm saying that everything affects everything else. My neighbor's having a very good morning. Bravo. Okay. So when it comes to the actual props to use to make your body feel better, I really can't help you. All I'm going to say is keep an open mind and being willing to experiment. If something doesn't work today, there's no guarantee that same technique might not benefit you next week. Be very, very flexible. It's a sucky situation. I'm sorry you have to endure it. So what I'd like to do now is get straight to the main lesson, if that's okay. So one of the wonderful things about chronic pain is that it puts things in perspective and helps us realize the folly of elitism, that there are many people who have mastered the full lotus posture and sit like a statuesque statue, but have not mastered the Buddha's path. And there are people who are hideous and have mastered the Buddha's path. The outward trappings or a sucker's bet. Do what works. So let's look at the neuroscience of coping. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. What does that look like? That looks like meditation teachers who honestly believe it's in everyone's best interest to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Meditation teachers who honestly feel being flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind are bad things. But the Buddha would, of course, disagree. So these same cranky, rigid, controlling teachers will implore their students to practice active concentration or active contemplation or both. Sadly, the only way to do that is to rely upon specific mechanisms within our brain, such as those found in the medial prefrontal cortex or the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. But overusing our prefrontal cortex will stimulate our amygdala, the seat of aggression and anxiety. I don't need to tell you that aggression and anxiety will take whatever pain you have and make it worse. There's a wonderful line from the original Point Break, where the villain says to the hero, "Fear will make you hesitate, and hesitation will make your worst nightmares come true." We can modify that and say, increased anxiety and increased aggression will worsen your pain. Not because pain's psychological, but because anxiety is a physiological situation. We just slap a psychological label on, but it's a physiological situation. Aggression is a physiological situation that take a profound toll on our body. So, concentration, contemplation, anxiety, and aggression are not our friends. Fortunately, these two parts are not the sole components of our central nervous system. The seventh fold of the Buddha's eightfold path is mindfulness. And the most efficient way to practice it is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. Doing so induces the cerebral cortex to cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system. This sympathetic nervous system is ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. I know, I was shocked to learn that a part of our central nervous system is outside of our skull. This sympathetic nervous system has evolved to help us perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. And I'm sure you can agree that's the opposite of concentration. This sympathetic nervous system has evolved to help us perceive, well, first of all, perceive in a manner that is vulnerable, and that is exemplified by the nudity of the members of this archetype. So what have we evolved to perceive? We have evolved to perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. So, what are we to do with that which we notice? Well, that brings us to meditation. The most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation. Doing so induces our cerebral cortex to cooperate with our parasympathetic nervous system. This parasympathetic nervous system is ensconced within the lower third as well as the upper third of that same spinal cord. And this whole thing kind of reminds me of a lollipop with its stem, and the stem does pierce the lollipop. Otherwise, the lollipop would fall off. So this parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. There are some powerful benefits of doing this. First of all, this release and relaxation bring to mind a Tibetan description of meditation as relaxing into the non-graspable nature of mind. This is depicted in the archetype. This is depicted by the translucence of the archetype. Now let's talk benefits. The first benefit of regularly practicing mindfulness and meditation in harmony with our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems is that it calms our aggressive and anxious amygdala. That's nice. Number two, it stimulates our anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy and compassion and love. This is why the late Tulku Thondup insisted that the highest love is not the product of the contrivance of concentration or contemplation, but rather it is the spontaneous and uncontrived fringe benefit or side effect or byproduct of simply noticing and releasing. This is depicted by the beauty of the archetype. The third benefit is this. The more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the more our choices, utterances, and deeds flow. Not from scatteredness and not from contrivance, but instead from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. This centered spontaneity is depicted in two ways. The centeredness is depicted by the stability of this blue fellow's posture, and the spontaneity is depicted by the abandon with which this gal, who is the color of a cumulus cloud, sports in tantric union. The common denominator in all these benefits is effortlessness. So can you see how forcing ourselves to endure a ridiculous torture test of pretzel legs and iron spine have nothing to do with spontaneity and effortlessness? The fourth enlightenment factor is joy. And unless you are a masochist, and I don't want to kink shame, but unless you're a masochist, pain is not going to bring you joy. Exacerbating your pain needlessly through endurance or twisting your legs or elongating your spine isn't going to feed your joy. Joy is a wonderful barometer. It's a wonderful spiritual barometer, letting us know if we are moving in the right direction. So, before I change the page, if you are capable of brisk walking meditation, if it is soothing and it does not a torment, then that's great. When you're doing your walking meditation, I recommend staying close to home and walking around your block numerous times for as long as your body will permit you to, in a pleasurable way. Yes, hedonism is your friend in this case. So, but you want to, because of just the idea of coordinating physical movement and breath and mind, these one-syllable words will not serve us well during walking meditation. So you'll want to replace the word this with the verb perceiving. You'll want to replace the verb ease with the verb releasing. These are not affirmations, because affirmations are just wishful thinking lies we tell ourselves. We're actually labeling latent processes working in the background in the hopes of eliciting the cooperation of our brain. So as you walk around the block or walk on a treadmill, perceiving, releasing is what you're practicing, and you're just passively allowing things to enter and leave your sphere of perception, whether those things be sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, or the like, whether those things be emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, or imaginings, whether those things be an awareness of the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, or the grotesque. It is not our job to shove at pain, nor is it our job to elicit it. Our job is just to notice. You know you're moving in the right direction, but the following aphorism describes you. Whatever comes, we let it come. Whatever stays, we let it stay. Whatever goes, we let it go. Any veteran of long-term pain can tell you that tension is not your friend. Tension will exacerbate the real pain you're experiencing. Therefore, playing with this ease, even if only for 30 seconds, is useful. Sometimes more effective than meditating for an hour, because you're really going to make those 30 seconds count. Trust me, it works. So we've explored walking meditation. So let's talk about energy work. not all not all flavors of arthritis are identical. So some people have arthritis in their hands, some people have arthritis in their hips, some have it in their spines, some people have it everywhere. If you don't have an arthritis in your hands, then there are things we can do to play with our fingers to guide our energy in a very useful way. And we'll explore that in greater detail in a few minutes. But mudra is basically the yoga of our fingers, and it can help us work with our energy. However, if the hands are off the table, metaphorically speaking, you can work with energy simply through the power of invocation. For instance, you can coalesce the energy in your lower abdomen through the cunning use of the green syllable ah. You can coalesce your energy into your navel wheel through the use of the syllable trom. You can bring your energy to your heart with the syllable hum. You can bring your energy to your throat with the syllable free. Bring your energy to your crown with the syllable om. And I'm happy to go into greater detail with that in a few minutes or later. All you got to do is ask me, and I'll do an entire lesson on that. But for the sake of ease, let's get some colors in here. Now, are some people able to reverse arthritis through energy work? Yes. That's great. That's awesome. But even if you don't reverse it, just to be able to cope with it can be helpful. Just to have more tools to play with can make us feel less like we are doomed and we have no options. So I've been wrestling with a constellation of disabilities my whole life, and yet I'm still, I still wake up every morning thinking I'm going to look like James Bond. I don't, but I think I will. It's okay to be silly. It's okay to be irrational. It's okay to have hope. Now let's talk about mantra meditation. We've talked about silent meditation. Let's talk about mantra meditation. We'll get into the specific mantra a little bit later on towards the tail end of this practice. But simply, reciting this as we breathe in and then relaxing into the recitation of mantra during the exhalation is not only a valid, powerful form of meditation, but it can have physical benefits. There are lamas who've made their entire career around one mantra, and they've used that mantra to contemplate wisdom, to meditate, to contemplate love, to heal people, to do folk magic, all the above. So you don't need faith, you don't need belief. All you need is a desire to feel better and an enthusiasm to experiment. So, for instance, let's use the algebraic term X. Let's pretend body part X is hurting. Well, When you silently and mentally recite this ease, your body will automatically, effortlessly notice what hurts. It's really good at that. And then relaxing into your exhalation as silently and mentally you recite ease can, for some reason, help. If that's correct and a valid observation, how much more so when a mantra is used in it? So you're experiencing discomfort, silently and mentally you recite perhaps a four-syllable phrase such as noticing this, which you can't help but do anyway, but you're embracing it. Then as you relax into the verbal recitation of Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum, all the while relaxing. And that can help. I think desire is more powerful than faith. Faith is a rigidity, and it does more harm than good. But we are already wired to automatically desire health and to desire the presence of health and the absence of pain. So we don't have to contrive it. It's already there. And so we can make use of that. And then we can get creative. So it works like this. Let's pretend I hate pain. Then let's pretend that maybe other people hate pain too. Then instead of me wishing comfort for myself, I could wish comfort for all beings everywhere, real or imagined. And for some reason, that can help. The Dalai Lama explains that love is a source of good karma. The more people included in your wish, the more good karma that is. I don't know. I just know that the more I involve love, the more happy I am, and the more effective my efforts to manage my pain are. Now, I'm not saying that if you have pain, it's because you weren't loving. That's bullshit. That is a disastrous, horrible lie. Pain is not an indictment. But there are things that, for instance, as a survivor of abuse, there are times I have some very angry emotions. Anger does not really help with pain. It might give me a boost in adrenaline, but that adrenaline wears off and the pain is even worse. Love seems to help. And so in today's practice, we're going to have some love exercises as well. We're going to have the whole schmear. You're in for a treat. So this is it. This is it. Let's tie this up in a big red bow. Just as man was not made for the Sabbath, but Sabbath was made for the man. We did not evolve to become meditating wooden statues, but meditation evolved to serve us. And so we can practice our own personal hybrid, our own personal hack of meditation. And not only better cope with our bodies and cope with our emotions, but even master the Buddha's Eightfold Path, which really is enlightenment itself. I think it could be great fun if together as a team we chanted and meditated together after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to meditate like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. I'll be right back. together as a team, let us play with the latest iteration of All Good Ones Easy Meditation. Whoopsie, wrong button. Way back in junior high school, our PE teachers would first have us warm up, then exercise, then cool down. And we can think of today's practice along the same lines. The view of reality that supports letting go is the first fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Therefore, let us practice Mahayoga's Wisdom Warm-Up. Please chant the disclaimer with me. Rather than indulge or controlling tendencies with the follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these wise words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors for statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. So the Buddha was fond of putting everything into 4 categories: the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. We're going to begin with the circumstantial together. May we see how all circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form. We're going to use the verb melt as a metaphor of impermanence. We're going to use the verb absorb as a metaphor of interdependence. And in the name of fighting fire with fire, we're going to use self-centeredness to transcend selfishness. We're going to take all these words and coalesce them into just 6 syllables that we're going to divide between our inhalation and our exhalation. May we feel how all bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communicational speech. May we hear how all interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this mind. May we feel how all perceiving, emoting, intending, thinking, recalling, and imagining minds could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into our vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be not graspable to the hand. We now turn to the seventh and eighth folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, Ati Yoga's mindfulness and meditation. Allow me to remind you that the most efficient way to practice authentic mindfulness is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. For doing so induces the cerebral cortex to cooperate with the sympathetic nervous system, which is ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. The sympathetic nervous system has evolved to help us perceive in a very specific way, to help us perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. A vulnerability that is depicted in the iconography of Kuntu Zongpo Yabyum, by the nudity of Kuntu Zongpo Yabyum. The most efficient way to authentically practice meditation is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the, I got ahead of myself. What are we designed to perceive? We're designed to perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Now, what do we do with that which we notice? We meditate. But how does that meditation work? We silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation. Doing so induces our cerebral cortex to cooperate with our parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced within both the lower third as well as the upper third of our spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to help us both physically relax as well as mentally release. Perhaps that is why in Tibet it is described as relaxing into the non-graspable nature of mind. Perhaps that is why the archetype is depicted as being translucent and non-graspable as a rainbow. Now, during class, I mentioned that there is a way of practicing energy work dependent solely upon our fingers. Let's explore that right now. We can use a counter on our phone, a timer, I should say. But phones can run out of charge or get lost or broken or confiscated by people wearing polyester uniforms. And it's nice to know that our meditation is not dependent upon external devices. Therefore, if we wish to meditate for the better part of an hour, there are things that we can do. We can gather 4 collections upon our knuckles of our left hand's 8 sets, counting our right hand's 12 rounds. All these things are going to affect our energy. Now this is overwhelming, so let's break it down to simple tasks. Did you know that, wrong button. There's a way to play with the 4 fingers and 1 thumb of our right hand to count 12 rounds. But what's a round? A round is simply 1 inhalation followed by 1 exhalation. So during our inhalation, when we're silently and mentally and passively reciting the demonstrative pronoun this, we can advance our thumb. We begin with our little finger and end with our index finger. Practice with me if you please. There you go. 12 repetitions. How do we count 8 sets? Well, we use our left hand. And we would count our first set of 12, our second set of 12, our third set of 12, our fourth set of 12, our fifth set of 12, our sixth set of 12, our seventh set of 12, our eighth set of 12. And now we come to the knuckles. And this is where things really get interesting. Because when we rest the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger upon the tip of our left little finger and place both these hands palms up in our hands while our thumbs are counting creases, our energy could be coalescing in the secret wheel, a real or imagined vortex between our navel and our pelvis. We now shift knuckles, and we rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger upon the tip of our left ring finger, thus inviting our energy to our navel center. We can rest the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left little finger and bring these both these hands into our lap, palms up. Doing so invites our subtle energies to coalesce at our heart's our heart's chakra marked with a blue syllable hum. That has a profound influence upon our water element. I should say exerts, maybe that's a better word. Allow me to remind you that as we relax into our exhalation, whatever hate we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as Akshobhya Buddha's mirror-like wisdom. and I'll be right back. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever heart we might have noticed during our inhalation can begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as real or imagined Akshobhya Buddha, comprised only of light, comprised only of blue light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever water element we might have noticed during our previous inhalation can begin to feel as if it was less graspable, less permanent, less defining. as we relax into our exhalation. Whatever awareness we might have noticed during our previous inhalation can begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, is non-graspable to the hand. Let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger upon the tip of our left index finger and set both these hands upon our lap. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever crown of our head we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a real or imagined syllable comprised only of white light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever body we might have noticed during our previous inhalation can begin to feel as if it was non-graspable, as real, or imagine a Vairochana Buddha comprised only of white light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever confusion we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as non-graspable as all-pervasive wisdom. We now switch gears from silent meditation to mantra meditation as described in the opening lesson. And it's very simple. During our inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, noticing this. And this, of course, continues to represent whatever we notice, be it external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. During our exhalation, we strive to physically relax as best we can while chanting this 12-syllable mantra 3 times per breath. Now, if this is your first time hanging out with me, or should I say, hanging out with me, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever melodiousness or discord we might have perceived during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung 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 Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. Again. Rest the great knuckle at the base of your right little finger upon the tip of your left. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung 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 Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. Again, please rest the great knuckle at the base of your right ring finger upon the tip of its left. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung 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 Om mazuri hum. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Mazuri hum. Again, let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left middle finger. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Mazuri hum. 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 Let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger upon the tip of our left index finger. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Mazuri hum. 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 We began with wisdom's warm-up. We continued with the main event of mindfulness meditation, and now we conclude with Mahayoga's compassionate cool-down, for loving kindness comprises 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Rather than total controlling tendencies with all follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these kind words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us therefore sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors or statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. So, this word may does not mean we are praying. It simply means we are using words to guide our intention. We might strengthen the neural pathways responsible for empathy. May all minds of all beings know be as peacefully enlightened as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a articulate one syllable seed or bija mantra. We now take all these words and coalesce them down to just 6 syllables that we're going to silently and mentally recite during our inhalation. Again, during our exhalation, we're going to physically relax into as physically relax as we strive to chant these 12 syllables 3 times per breath. And as we do so, it really could feel like blessing rays are shooting out of our 84,000 pores like some great metaphysical sprinkler. Just blessing everybody silly. Do we have to visualize that? No, but don't be surprised if it feels that way. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 Allow me to remind you that the mental morality of kind intention is the second fold of the Buddha's eightfold path. Let's see if I move this here. There we go. May all relationships, all speech of all beings know be as joyfully loving as a real or Ramanujan Buddha speech symbolized by your multisyllabic mantra. So this is a big deal. When we see so much sexism, racism, classism, fascism, jingoism, and genocide occurring around the globe, I think we can all agree everybody could use some more love. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 Allow me to remind you that the interpersonal morality of kind communication is the third fold of the Buddha's eightfold path. May all bodies or forms of all beings know and enjoy the beautiful health represented by Buddha's statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Dhamma, an archetype of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zangpo. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 remember that physical morality, take two, that the physical morality of kind conduct, also known as nonviolence, is the fourth fold of the Buddha's eightfold path. Together. May all circumstances or lots of all beings know have the safe fortune or boon. As a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or vanity. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung 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 Om Mahum Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung 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 Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. The circumstantial morality of kind commerce simply means not being a Karen and trying to get everyone fired, not being a Chad trying to drive everybody out of work. This is the fifth fold of the Buddha's eightfold path. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 9.25 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.